That was then and this is now. This is a different situation. I'm safe now and I don't have to behave in the same way to feel safe. The aptitudes we develop and the patterns that we create for ourselves, behavioral, relational, emotional, spiritual, etc. The way that we see ourselves, our self-worth, the way we give and receive love, our values, our beliefs, the things that we care about the most, the things that we repel and don't like, and just our basic attitudes and the way that we move through the world was very heavily influenced by those potent, influential formative years, and they still play a role in our adult relationships. These parts of our psyche, or these inner children that live within us, right? These parts of us that experience intensity in the world, whether it's deemed to be positive or negative, and how that registers in our nervous systems, how that registers in our minds, how that registers in our being totally, right? And then how we unconsciously play aspects and afflictions of that out into the world, into relationships. And so, for example, for me, I would notice that in relationships, I would maybe be secretive, or I would be in little white lies, and I would withhold information. I wouldn't be truthful completely in my expression. And that was really tethered and connected to a coping strategy, a way that I would behave when I was younger. I'm talking single digit younger here, like 3, 4, 5, 7 years old, to hide myself from punishment. Because I grew up in a pretty violent, volatile, emotionally abusive and physically abusive environment. And so if I could manipulate the environment where I was getting hit less, or I was getting hurt less, or screamed at less, that was a win for me, win for survival, right? And that pattern played out in intimate relationships, because the projection was, if there's conflict and if there's tension, it's going to equate to big blow-ups. It's going to equate to danger. It's going to equate to not a healthy dynamic. It's going to equate to me not being safe. Another pattern, just to give you another example, make it more tangible, as I became older, because I grew up with so much aggression, I started accessing more of that. So that became a coping strategy. The moment something got too difficult in an intimate relationship, or my partner would question me or doubt me or accuse me of something or just be angry at me, I would get angry back, and I would get bigger in my anger. And I was emulating what I saw my father do with my mother and my mother do with my father. And that became a coping strategy to seize control, to have control, and to essentially feel safe, because that's what we want. We just want to feel safe. They're called maladaptive coping strategies because they're not very healthy to play those types of patterns out in relationship, but they worked when we were younger. Making that connection and really starting to understand that was very important for me, because then I had to do some inner healing work with that little boy. Like, I had to give him what he never received. And I had to do that through emulation. I had to do that through emotional release work and trauma release work, and really accessing him, having a dialogue with him, a conversation and communication with that part of me that was acting out, whether it was my teenage part, or 4-year-old or 7-year-old, and really letting him know, which is essentially letting my nervous system know that that was then and this is now. This is a different situation. I'm safe now and I don't have to behave in the same way to feel safe. So how can I be different? And that's where the journey begins, right?